Also, again, visualize the image of the Amazon, the river Amazon. If you have seen that image of the river Amazon that that flows through the river through the jungles in a zigzag way. So this very river Alf is also flowing in a zigzag way for 5 miles, and then it reaches to the sea, in a deep dark sea, and it pours its water in that deep dark sea. Then the poet says that he can hear the sound of the roaring sound of water flowing, and this roaring sound of water flowing through the river reminds Kubla Khan of his ancestors, as if this roar of the water, as if the voice of his ancestors, voice of Kubla Khan's ancestors, and as if his ancestors are prophesying that war is going to happen. His ancestors are telling him to take part in war, and Kubla should take part in war because he is a fighter king, he is a warrior king. Then we find that in the next section, the poet says, the shadow of the dome of pleasure floated midway on the waves, where was heard the mingled measure from the fountain and the caves. In the next section of the poem, the poet, here we also find some kind of jumpiness. The poet is saying that the shadow of the palace, which is built beside the river Alf, the shadow of the palace falls on the middle of the river. He also says that the voice of the water flowing in the river could be heard from the palace, from the inside of the palace. And this palace is very much a wonder of creation, this magnificent palace. This palace is full of opposites. Its design is magnificent and marvelous. It is surrounded by caves. This palace is surrounded by caves. The caves are full of ice. So inside the caves, it's winter, but the palace is very much well fed with the sunshine. So outside it is summer, and outside it is very bright. So this palace is the palace of Kubla Khan, and it is the creation of magnificence. It is the place where opposites are staying together. On the one hand, the bright sunshine, on the other hand, the ice in the caves. So here everything is present, everything is possible in this impossible palace. Then we find the second part of the poem. In the second part of the poem, the poet is talking about his dream. He says, a damsel with a dulcimer in a vision once I saw. It was an Abyssinian maid, and on her dulcimer she played, singing of Mount Abora. Could I revive within me her symphony and song? So in the second part of the poem, the poet is talking about his vision, his dream. He is saying that once upon a time he saw in a dream an Abyssinian, that means Ethiopian woman, singing on Mount Abora with her musical instrument, that is dulcimer, kind of a violin. This very line reminds us of Milton's Paradise Lost, where Milton tells us of a woman singing on Mount Amara. Here Coleridge uses a different name, Mount Abora. This woman is singing a beautiful song, and the poet says this woman is the symbol of, you can say, a symbol of muse. Woman is symbol of creation. Woman is symbol of poetic creation, and the poet expresses his wish that had he that imaginative power of recapturing or recreating that beautiful music that the woman was singing, he would have built the pleasure palace that had been built by Kubla Khan. So he is talking about his creative power. He is saying that had he that kind of creativity, I mean creativity like the woman was playing and singing, he would have created the magnificent, impossible, exotic pleasure palace that has been built by Kubla Khan, that Kubla Khan ordered to be built. Now he says if he had that kind of creative power, people would have revered him. He would have been revered by people. People would have said that beware, beware, his flashing eyes, that means the poet's flashing eyes, he's floating here, weave a circle round him thrice. People would have weave circles, 3 circles around him, and close your eyes with holy dread. People would have dared and close their eyes. People would have been afraid of him, for he on honey dew hath fed and drunk the milk of paradise. People would have thought that he has been blessed by God. He has some magic power in him. He is magician. He is a blessed person. He has such a creativity. Beware of him. Stay afraid of him. Stay aloof from him. He is a creative man. So we see here the poem comes to an end. Now these 2 parts, the first part and the second part. In the first part, the poet tells about a magnificent creation, the pleasure palace, and in the second part, which many critics say that it is disjointed, not connected with the first part. There is no logical connection between these 2 parts, and the second part is imposed on the first part. Many allegations are there, but we see that connection is always there, because in the first part the poet tells us about the magnificent palace, and in the second part he wants to realize the dream. I mean, he says that had he that kind of creativity, he would have been able to create such a magnificent palace through his imagination. So here we find the logical connection between the first part and the second part. And in spite of dreamy quality, in spite of being created in a dream, some logical connection of the first part with the second part is very much evident here. Okay, thank you.